A handy tip I found that if you do intend to go down the bachelor route of becoming a land surveyor, a really good pathway to do is to complete your diploma in land surveying. Often universities recognise this diploma as basically completing half of your bachelor degree. Hello and welcome to the Project Insight. I'm your host, Harry Macpherson-Wood, and on today's show we're going to explore the different career pathways into becoming a land surveyor. Land surveying, yes, it's certainly not a very commonly known profession, but it is one of the oldest careers to date. What is land surveying? To put it simply, it is the art of measuring. Land surveyors can measure simple things, including the distance between two objects, through to more complex things, including creating 3D models and mapping the entire globe. So before we jump into the different career pathways into becoming a surveyor, let's have a quick look at different surveying fields that are available to date. The first field is cadastral surveying. This is probably more commonly known fields of surveying, and cadastral surveyors specialise in title or property boundaries. Cadastral surveyors all around Australia and New Zealand must be licensed or registered with their relevant state, and this registration or license allows them to really be the go-to people about anything property or title related. These surveyors often look at plans that can be over 100 years old, and understanding and trying to interpret those plans can be quite a challenging thing. Another land surveying career is mining surveying, and as the name suggests, mining surveyors are in charge of or do their work related to anything within a mine site. Mining surveyors are responsible for all the surveying works that happen within the mine site, which have various different day-to-day activities, but they do include measuring stockpile volumes, setting out where a mine may go, and it also may be marking out or defining where mining lease areas boundaries are, and various different uses of technology, which include UAVs, 3D laser scanners, and total stations. Mining surveyors are also required to complete a registration with the Board of Mining Surveyors, and this allows them that extra responsibility and certification to conduct operations within a mine site, which may include the property or the area boundaries of the mine site. Next surveying field is construction surveying. Construction surveyors are those who work on anything that's related to the construction industry. They have various different types of roles. Some construction surveyors may work on high-rise buildings, while others may work on underground tunnels. Construction surveyors' work can vary quite dramatically, and some of the duties that they may do include placing grid marks on site, which allows builders to set out and build the building to millimetre precision. And of course there are other more niche or specialised types of surveying, which include hydrographic surveying, GIS, Geographical Information System surveying, large cartographic surveying, LiDAR or UAV surveying, and 3D laser scan surveying. Fantastic thing about surveyors is not all surveying firms strictly follow the one type of field. Often many of these firms have a various amount of variety between these fields, so a land surveyor's job may not be solely for one purpose. They may dive into different types of fields, which is great for the land surveyors and keeping up that diversity and challenging their skills on various different projects that come on board. I know what I find is that the regional surveying firms tend to get a little bit more variety in the type of surveying fieldwork. So these regional surveyors may do quite a mix of cadastral surveying, construction surveying, and all the specialised type of UAV, 3D laser scanning type surveying work as well, which is what I've found fantastic to diversify your skills and really hone in on what you're interested in and where your passions may be. Before we jump into the career pathways into becoming a land surveyor, an important thing you may be considering are what subjects you need to study to go down the pathway of a land surveyor. Whilst there are a few different options, generally it's split into a few different categories, which you become a surveyor through experience. You can become a land surveyor through study and experience, which may be a diploma or a certificate 4, or you may go down the bachelor route and become a land surveyor that way. If you are still in year 12, generally surveyors are more of that technical problem solving type based, and I know I was very similar as well. I enjoyed the problem solving type skills, so I enjoyed the maths subjects more so, which typically is what surveying is all about. So completing the math subjects is quite important. Well, it's not essential, but it is important to understand those skills and apply them, because you do apply maths in your job as a land surveyor. Land surveying, particularly if you choose to go down the bachelor route, the more difficult maths you have at school will benefit you to help you understand the concepts and mathematics behind surveying problems. While it isn't essential to do the more difficult maths, it certainly does help with understanding these concepts and applying them. I know what I found when I went down the bachelor route of studying surveying, because I did do the more difficult maths. I found the math subjects at university more so revision rather than learning, and it definitely helped me to spend less time on those subjects and focus on the other ones, which are probably the more English, essay, report based subjects, which are the ones I struggled with more at school. So the first pathway into becoming a land surveyor is through experience. To do this, often you will put out your interest to a number of different surveying firms. Some of them may have a position available for you as an entry-level land surveyor with minimal to no skill in the field, and often your role will be something similar to a survey field assistant, where your general duties are to help the survey party leader or the project leader and basically assist them in their work. And often what you will find is that they will teach you on the job the skills to be a surveyor, so you're basically learning on the job and gaining that experience to eventually get to the point where you can start to complete your own projects. And usually this starts off with smaller, more simple tasks. For me, I found that I was learning basic feature and level surveys or detail surveys, and just building my skills, understanding the equipment, learning how to set up a tripod, how to measure, and the basic fundamentals behind land surveying and measuring. The second pathway into becoming a land surveyor is through a certificate 4 or a diploma in surveying. The certificate 4 is usually a 1-year degree or 1-year course, and the diploma is a 2-year course. Both of these are quite a technical based course where you're learning skills that you can apply straight away on the job, and they really help you as a young surveyor or an entry-level surveyor learn the skills into becoming a confident land surveyor, understanding the concepts and the fundamentals behind surveying, and really give you that strong understanding of the equipment, how to use it, and how to apply it in your jobs or in your job as a land surveyor. A handy tip I found, that if you do intend to go down the bachelor route of becoming a land surveyor, a really good pathway to do is to complete your diploma in land surveying. Often universities recognise this diploma as basically completing half of your bachelor degree. So if you go down that route of completing the diploma, you can generally just jump straight into the bachelor degree halfway through it, which leaves you only a couple of years of study to complete your bachelor degree. While this wasn't the route that I went down, I do know people that did choose this route, and I think a great benefit with this is that the diploma is generally a little bit cheaper than the bachelor. So while I went down the bachelor route to complete my studies, someone I know who graduated at a similar time completed the diploma, jumped into his bachelor, and graduated that way. He had significantly less HECS debt than what I did, which is a good advantage of going down that route. I was probably, well, I didn't know that route actually was a cheaper option at the time. I was a little bit skeptical that if you did go down that diploma route, that you might have to end up spending more time studying, rather than my aim was to try and minimize the amount of time spent studying to complete that bachelor degree. And I was a little bit concerned about that completing a diploma, you probably spend more time focusing on the technical based learning rather than the academic type learning, which is less time focusing on your resumes and report writing and essays and all those written type academic skills, which were, prior to me starting this bachelor degree, probably one of my weaker areas in my schooling days. So I was determined to learn those skills, and rather than jumping in halfway, a little bit thrown into the deep end, you learn it from scratch, and they really step you through it at the start of your bachelor degree, rather than it being assumed knowledge. The certificate 4 and the diploma are really great steps into becoming a more confident land surveyor. That extra certification just shows that you have that motivation to learn and to really get involved in the surveying career pathway, and it is rewarded with your employer, that you've got that extra certification and knowledge, and generally your pay is probably, your income is a little bit higher, and that extra step in learning helps you apply and become a bit more of a confident surveyor, and often that tends to lead to you becoming a field party leader or a project surveyor, more so in charge of jobs rather than a technician type learning or an assistant type of a role, which is great for your career. And if it's something that you are interested in doing and becoming a project surveyor, then I would recommend doing some kind of studying to further develop your skills as a surveyor. The third pathway is completing a degree in surveying. So that would be a bachelor degree. Often people who choose this route to complete a bachelor degree in land surveying have two focuses, and that's to become a cadastral licensed or registered cadastral surveyor, or to be a registered mining surveyor. To be one of those two, you actually have to complete a bachelor degree. The mining surveying degree is a 3-year course, and the cadastral surveying is a 4-year course. So it's a bachelor with an honours, as an example, honours in land surveying. These are important degrees as they're recognised by the boards of each state to be recognised as a licensed or registered surveyor, and you cannot advance into that step without completing this degree. So it's quite a milestone or an important jump up if you want to go down these routes. I also find that completing the bachelor degree is also another step in advancing your skills as a land surveyor, and important to really build a strong understanding of land surveying, the fundamentals, and how to really problem solve and be that lead surveyor in charge of projects. It's more of a focus on the professional side of land surveying rather than the technical side of surveying. So completing this bachelor degree really confirms that your intention is to be that professional type role where you are possibly managing a team or managing surveys and being that leader in the surveying field. Obviously, once you complete your degree as a land surveyor, you're generally not going to jump straight into that role, but it's showing that that's the route that you're intending to go. While it's not guaranteed, that's the same with diploma, certificate for all, just experience. They can all vary. You can be a lead surveyor in just through experience, and the other way around, you could be a field assistant and have a bachelor degree. So it works both ways, but it just shows that you're committed to take that extra step. You've got that foundational or fundamental understanding of surveying, and employers really do or are keen to employ people with these extra set of skills. Once you complete this bachelor degree, if you haven't had any other experience and complete the bachelor degree and find a job as a land surveyor, often you'll jump into the role as a graduate surveyor, and from there, similar to a technician or a field assistant, you are learning the ropes of becoming a land surveyor, building your skills and your knowledge on surveying, and applying your skills on all the different types of land surveying skills that are required. It also develops your professional skills as a surveyor, and over years of practicing and studying and working, you eventually then can progress into different responsibilities as a surveyor, and potentially, if it's something you're interested in doing, going down that mining surveying registration or that cadastral surveying licensing route. The fourth pathway is the registered or licensed cadastral or mining surveyor route. This is the next step on top of the bachelor degree and possibly other certificates that you've got along the way to progress to be that lead surveyor, those responsible for signing off and endorsing boundary plans for mines or for property boundaries. It is the next step into your professional career as a land surveyor. These licensed or registered surveyors are often the lead surveyor in a team. They manage a team and often manage a team for the office and are responsible for all the surveys that the business sends off. So often these licensed or registered surveyors have quite a large amount of responsibility, and often that mentor or that guide or the teacher for the younger surveyors or the surveyors learning or climbing up to be in a similar role to them as well. To become a licensed or registered surveyor, the first step is obviously completing that bachelor degree, and then from there, depending on which state or territory you're in, often then there is a signing up to be a candidate surveyor or training surveyor and completing projects or tasks that the board of that state sets for you. And this can take several years to do, but once you slowly chip away at these projects, you then often have that final interview or exam, and if you pass that, the board then endorses you to be a licensed or registered surveyor, which then gives you that ultimate responsibility to sign off on these plans. The fifth pathway I have is specialisation. So this is quite a varying, different field, and there are many different routes that you can take for specialisation, but to name a couple of them, specialisation maybe in the technical side of things, which could be flying UAVs or drones. Often to do this, you need to become a licensed or a CASA licensed remote pilot, and there are many different fields that you can advance into with this, which include becoming the chief remote pilot for your business, responsible for all the pilots within your business and your UAV team. Another field could be 3D laser scanning and that 3D spatial field, where you manage or specialize in the analysis or data, or the 3D spatial data field. Another specialization is the hydrographic or the underwater modeling, which often this can be modeling seabed, 3D models of seabeds or inland lakes. This may advance into mining and modeling inside mining tunnels. There's many different technical based fields that you can advance or specialize into, and there are other professional type fields that you can specialize, which may be more of a mentor or a guide for younger surveyors or those less experienced trying to climb up the ropes, and being that mentor to help surveyors along their journey. For myself, my experience was a little bit of a combination of a couple of fields. So initially, I completed year 12. I did the more difficult maths and more of a basic English, and I did complete a physics subject, which is often recommended if you're going into the land surveying field. Not compulsory, of course, but it is recommended, and that's what I chose to do. From finishing year 12, I then found a job at a surveying firm in the local area that I grew up in, and joined up initially as a gap year type of a role, where I was learning that field assistant position, where I was basically helping the land surveyor on site and mostly in the field, helping them possibly peg out subdivisions or mark out roads or pits or anything like that. That technical learning on the field type of a role, which was really great for my career to understand how to set up an instrument and go through those basic fundamentals. While I was completing work, I found that there were other people in my business that had signed up to do the land surveying degree, which I didn't know at the time that they offered online studies for completing this bachelor degree, which definitely piqued my interest because it meant that I didn't have to move town to complete my studies. The closest surveying degree, or the surveying university that was near my town, was 3 hours away in Melbourne. So it was definitely quite a major step to have to pack everything up and move to Melbourne for my studies. And completing or doing this online course was definitely of interest to me, because it then possibly opened up the opportunity where I could keep working and learning those skills as a land surveyor and studying at the same time. Because of my year 12 results, my overall score was high enough to get into the surveying degree, but my English score was a little bit too low, so the surveying university, or the universities that offered land surveying, wouldn't actually accept me into the degree. So what I ended up doing was completing a tertiary preparation program, which is kind of like a bridging course, which if you pass that, you are basically guaranteed into a bachelor degree. And while it was a little bit risky at the time, I didn't know if I could pass it, would I jump straight into the bachelor degree that I wanted, or if it allowed me to go into maybe a different type of surveying degree, but not the one recognised to become a cadastral surveyor. I was a little bit skeptical that that might be the case, but I actually completed this bridging course. It was 1 semester, and this university had 3 semesters per year. I chose to study over the Christmas break and complete this bridging course, and it actually approved me straight into the surveying degree, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And it was quite challenging because of the English component, which is what I struggled with the most. But I did pass it and got straight into the bachelor degree. So as far as my thought process was, completing a gap year and then jumping into the bachelor degree after that gap year was my plan, and I actually was able to achieve that because I studied over that Christmas break, and it then allowed me to progress into the bachelor degree, which was fantastic for me. It was quite an achievement. It was quite a lot of work to do that bridging course. Luckily, the maths side of that bridging course I was quite familiar with, obviously because I'd completed the harder maths in year 12, so it was more so revision, which again allowed me a lot more time to focus on the English side, or the English subjects, with this bridging course, which is where I quite struggled with, particularly at the start, or the end of year 12 and at the start of the university degree. So yeah, I had my gap year, then progressed into the bachelor degree and chose to study online, and also chose to study part-time. So I think I did 2 subjects. Full-time is 4 subjects per semester. So I did half-time, you could call it. It's actually called part-time, but it's half-time really, half the subjects, and slowly chipped away at it. I didn't work full-time. I think from memory, I might have done 4 days a week, and then had 1 day off a week where I would study, which changed a little bit throughout the degree itself. Some years I picked up an extra subject, but other years I dropped back a subject. It was a little bit of that balance of trying to figure out what I could handle studying and working, and what my limit was, and possibly trying to just balance it. With some semesters I didn't want to spend as much time studying and more time working, and the other way around too. But eventually, after 7 years of studying online, that is, as well, I finished the degree and graduated my bachelor's, which 7 years definitely is, as it sounds, a very long time. It was quite an achievement for myself to complete and stick at an online subject or an online university degree for 7 years, and there certainly were many challenging times with that, and particularly with the essay and report writing things where I struggled with. Often that meant I probably spent quite a lot of time trying to learn that and understand it, and really get the marks suitable to pass those courses. Towards the end of the degree, as I began to understand it a little bit better and be more confident in structuring reports and essays, I didn't need to spend as much time working on it. But yeah, at the start especially, it was quite a lot of extra time I would have spent trying to learn that, and probably less time spent on the maths things, but that was fine with me because luckily I had done the harder maths, so it was allowed me to spend more time focusing on that English academic type of area. But yeah, finished the 7 years of study and graduated, and yeah, also at the same time working. So I think I found that a really good benefit too. You can learn these subjects that you're studying at university and apply them into your job every day. So I think I found that I could learn it, apply it, and it would stay strong or stay stuck to my memory a little bit better. So I think my fundamental understanding of land surveying was a lot better doing this route rather than completing a bachelor degree and then starting work, because often you may be learning concepts that you don't understand why it might apply as a surveyor. And if you did understand why it might apply as a surveyor, you probably forgot it by the time you start to actually apply it in your surveying career. So I think that definitely did help me learn and understand the fundamentals and be able to apply it in my day-to-day work. Another fantastic thing with making sure that I was working and studying at the same time was I found that because you are working for a company and doing those regular shifts or those regular days where you're working and learning, it also opened up other opportunities because I was building my skills at the same time. I became quite a confident surveyor before graduating, and it allowed me to branch into other opportunities, including getting my remote pilot license and to be CASA certified to fly for the company. So I was able to, over those 7 years plus the years after studying, um, build my skills, particularly on that 3D spatial side, where I could, one, get licensed to be a remote pilot or a UAV pilot and fly for this company, and to learn that 3D spatial field. So UAV type of work is often the one component of that 3D spatial field, and it also allowed me to branch into 3D laser scanning and LiDAR and all that other field related to the UAV and or that 3D spatial field. And yeah, it's helped me really specialize into that 3D spatial area while I was also studying at the same time. So while I was studying, I did complete a remote pilot license. I became the pilot for my local office. The company that I work for is quite a large company with many different offices, and often they have at least one pilot in each office. So I was responsible for all the UAV type work within my office. And after the 5, 6, or 7 years, it might have been about 5 years of flying, I eventually progressed into becoming the chief remote pilot for this company, and which then is an extra step in your UAV or remote pilot licensing career, to understand the legislation and the rules behind flying UAVs for your company, which is another great thing about studying on or at the same time as working, or building your knowledge and building your skills. And yeah, also becoming the chief remote pilot, which is also another field. It's kind of where my interest is too. So I was probably a candidate that was recognized as having an interest in aviation. So maybe that's another reason why I was chosen to get my remote pilot license for the office, because aviation was something that I was interested in. I actually at the time was studying and training to get my recreational pilot license to fly actual fixed wing aircraft. And yeah, those two, they did align, and you sort of understood the aviation law and rules behind that as well. And eventually passing my recreational pilot license and also passing my private pilot license as well. So the aviation is something that runs through my family as well. I've got a twin brother who is a pilot, and other family members who are definitely, they have pilot licenses as well and are interested in that field. So I probably stood out as being someone who was keen to learn the aviation or the remote pilot licensing side of land surveying, which is luckily I was able to achieve that remote pilot license and really apply those aviation skills and learn the mix between aviation and land surveying, and yeah, from there actually start doing work as a land surveyor, but using drones or UAVs as one of our tools. Now, from my experience so far, I really enjoy the land surveying or land surveying as a career. I think there are so many different options that you can choose from. You can have all those different career pathways, different ways of learning your skills, and different ways of applying them too. There are many different types of jobs, and a really amazing thing that certainly got me hooked in land surveying is that mixture of the professional and the office type role, as well as the getting out in the outdoors and seeing some absolutely amazing sites that we've been to and surveyed. And yeah, it really is a privilege to go to some of these sites and to see some of the amazing places all around Australia. So I definitely would recommend it to those who are interested in getting in the outdoors, those who want to have a long career progression. There are so many different types of specializations in land surveying. It's not just one route. There are many options, and hopefully you've been able to see that there are different fields that you can learn into, and you don't have to be limited with one of these. You can progress into many different options, and you can progress into studying different courses or different routes as well. So it's not limited. It doesn't have to be difficult or a long slog, and there are many options. And as a land surveyor, your career is often very well balanced, and the communities or the land surveying community is a small one, but it's a really good one to be a part of. And I think I've found that land surveying companies really do offer that great work-life balance, and it is very healthy to be a land surveyor. And I think I've found it in my journey so far that I love what I do, and would highly recommend it to those who are interested in those type of fields. If you would like to get any more advice on land surveying, or maybe possibly other different career pathways, or to speak to any land surveyors in a certain field, please shoot me a message, and I'll be sure to let you know or forward you on to the right person to speak to.